Guys, what's going on? It's Bobby K here. It is Domingo Design Day, and I'm going to break down a backyard design in 3 minutes. I'm going to give you 3 landscape design tips and 3 installation tips, and then I'm going to tell you how much it all costs. Let's go. Alright guys, so you've been through the walkthrough. I hope you like the design, but here's what we're going to do now. Let's take a couple specific spots in that design, break them down, and see how you might be able to use them in your design for future projects. Tip number 1, if you want to incorporate something that's going to make your beds absolutely pop and be kind of a focal point or a feature, use Mexican beach pebbles. Alright, so installation tip number 1, if you're going to use Mexican beach pebbles, respect the surface area of the bed. And what do I mean by that? Well, simply put, Mexican beach pebbles are expensive. They're about 62 to 65 cents per pound. If you start doing the square footage of this little bed we're showing you right now, I'd say it's about 7 linear feet total by 3 deep. You got 21 square feet. Take 21 times 0.62. You got 217 bucks just in decorative stone right there. Now, I'm not saying don't use them because they are awesome and they're an awesome focal point, but when you're respecting the surface area, which we're talking about, I'd say you take those bad boys and you put them flat on your fabric. Don't just dump them in. The more you dump in, the more you got to try and cover up that fabric, the more. All right, tip number 2, let's go over to that fire pit area. Now, there's a little bit of a slope in the back of this property we're going to put this design in, but instead of building everything up, I thought, man, this would be a neat opportunity to excavate down, put in a really cool unilock retaining wall, and make it like a sunken fire pit. So when you have opportunities to work with the grade on different entertainment areas, I say go for it. Installation tip number 2. When you are installing a retaining wall, most people know it's all about the base. You get a compacted, level surface, that's what you're going to put your base on, and then you're going to build everything up from there. What most people don't know is how to properly backfill behind a retaining wall. So in this particular case, we've got a lot of weight and earth with that pool and everything behind it. We need to make sure that nothing as far as the hydrostatic pressure, water, whatever is going to push this wall over, and all of a sudden we got an issue. So what you want to do is you want to clean rock backfill, 1-inch clean rock, and then put geogrid in every other level so that that hydrostatic pressure and the water and anything else that comes through doesn't push that over, and all of a sudden you got a slide, and then what do you think is going to happen to that pool? You got a big problem on your hand. So tip number 2, properly backfill, and then make sure you separate the soil or whatever is behind there from the clean rock with wall fabric. Okay, the clock is ticking. So tip number 3, if you want to add some really cool color but don't want a bunch of maintenance, add some colorful pots. Installation tip number 3. Everybody thinks that you might have to fill that thing all the way up with soil. That's not true. It's going to get really heavy. I would say if you filled one of these bad boys up, it might be 300 pounds. Then when winter comes, you got to take all that soil out, put the pot inside so it doesn't crack. You go through a whole thing. Here's what you can do. Take flats that you might have planted from annuals or perennials or whatever in that black plastic, cut it up, crumple it up, whatever, put it inside the pot, I'd say 3/4 of the way, then put soil and your potting mix on top. The water's obviously going to permeate through. You're taking up all that surface area. You might have taken a pot that weighed 300 pounds down to 30 pounds. You take out that little bit of soil, you take your pot inside, bam, you just solved the problem. Obviously, this is a very high-end design, and yeah, it's not for everybody. I would say this thing's between $250,000 to $300,000 with the pool, but the elements that we talked about, the pot with the crushed plastic to take up the surface area with a little bit of topsoil, anybody can do a planter. The Mexican beach pebbles, it's pretty cost effective. You could do a smaller one and put a pot in there, and it may be a cool focal point that sets off the rest of your landscaping. And then like I said, take advantage of some of those sloped areas. If you want to do a sunken fire pit or some other kind of cool design element, now you can. What I want to do is create a community behind Bobby K. I want you to subscribe. I want you to see some of the other videos and some of the design elements that I talk about in other videos that really can make a difference for you and your designs. Hey, creation is everything, so go out there and create.